We are failing to predict and prevent. And these problems are utterly predictable. What are they? Well, there's behavior problems, house soiling, destructive chewing, excessive barking, and maybe digging and escaping. Although, of course, digging and escaping are signs that the dog is not house-trained. Because if he were house-trained, he'd be living in the house, where he wouldn't be digging and he wouldn't be escaping. Temperament problems, fearfulness to people, the world at large, and aggression. Aggression to people, as I said, no excuses for that. Aggression to other dogs. That can be difficult. Hyperactivity as a temperament problem I consider under training problems. Training problems, we have the big activity problems. Generalized hyperactivity, jumping up, pulling on leash, running away, things like this. We know these problems. We know these problems that occur in puppyhood and the ones that really take hold in adolescence. The problems are predictable and we're not preventing them. And it's just so much easier. It is, 10,000 times easier to train the dog when he's a puppy than it is when he's an adult. Now, even with teaching basic manners, I would start at 4 weeks. Come here, sit, lie down, sit up. Oh, he fell over, what a shame. But he's trying, he does it. It's fun, you giggle, and he can do it. Than it is to try and train an untrained 8-month-old dog, especially an active one or a big one. It's so much easier. But when it comes to behavior problems and temperament problems, we have to do it in puppyhood. We have to have a preventative program. Behavior problems are the number one biggest terminal illness for pet dogs. If we don't prevent the behavior problems, the odds are the dog won't make it. People are very intolerant of behavior problems like house soiling, barking. If it has a behavior problem, they're probably going to get rid of the dog. A dog that even bites people. It's amazing. I've seen some dogs that the dog's bitten the people 20 times. They still live with it. They love it. And this, of course, is the weirdness of abusive psychology. The more the dog bites, the more you have to rationalize why you're keeping it. And the only rationalization is, I love the dog. Do you know that the reason for socialization, the whole process? The whole process is, in socialization, that the young animal gets used to what he will need to be used to as an adult. The young animal will only get used to what's close to him. So if he's a goose, he hatches. What does he see? Mum walking away, so he follows her. Well, his socialization period's only going to last like 12 hours. Then that's it. He only wants to follow geese. With puppies, it takes longer. The puppy is altrical. The puppy takes longer to socialize. But what do you see? Well, for the first 8 weeks, you see mum and your litter mates in a den somewhere. In the domestic world, you see mum, the litter mates, and the breeder's friend. Then you go to a new home. What do you see? Well, you see a whole new family. But that's all you see for the next 4 weeks. That is not socialization. All you've done there is to train the dog to be okay with mum, the litter mates, 2 women, the breeders, and this family. The whole point of socialization is so your dog is okay with anyone who visits your house and anyone your dog meets on the street. Let's look then at how-tos. How can we do it? Practical stages of development. I won't go into the Scott and Fuller stages. You can read it all in my first dog behavior book. When I wrote the second dog behavior book, I pretty much changed it and came up with practical stages of development. They are 5. Stage 1, birth to 8 weeks in the original home, usually the breeder's kennel. Stage 2, 8 to 12 weeks in the new home, the first month at home, critical. Stage 3, 12 to 18 weeks. We're now getting outdoors, we're going to puppy class, we're going on walks. Then 18 weeks until 2 or 3 years, adolescence. It is a very long, difficult and confusing period. The puppy enters adolescence with a crash. They collide with it at 18 weeks. At 18 weeks, you have a puppy. At 20 weeks, you have an adolescent. The canine teeth are just showing through. That dog can hurt you with his jaws now. There's a couple more I haven't dealt with, owner-absent problems. If, when you're at home, you give the dog full access to you, and you cuddle it and you talk to it and what have you, the dog will freak out when you're gone. Hello? The number one thing we have to do, I think, when raising animals and children is to teach them to stand on their own 2 feet or 4 paws. The fact of the matter is they could, at any moment, suddenly be on their own in